And decided to make this video. I was talking with a client of mine about some of the previous videos I did about working with Shemyaza, especially in relation with the Master Key Amulet. And, a lot has transpired in the past, since I made those videos almost 3 years ago at this point. I want to talk a little bit about that and what I'm planning, what I'm working towards. So what I'm looking at is working with Shemyaza beyond the master key and its associations with the particular person who channeled it and the occult groups that it was associated with. Because I have kind of moved beyond that and but yeah, and I was talking with this person, and it's kind of a shame when one person's shitty rep kind of mars the association with a particular entity. Because there were so many videos and so much stuff about this and products and things that this person did. So, you know, and and I'm gonna get into a little bit of it, but like I realized kind of as a result, I kind of stopped working with Shemyaza back in 2021. So just to update, because I am going to link some of the videos below from the original ones that I did, just to kind of update from those videos, I no longer have a dedicated Shemyaza product line. You can, however, order custom products because I still have all the formulations for it. So that is one of the things. And I know because this question kind of came up because I have one of Elena Lemmy's Limitless Liberations Shemyaza pyramids, and she no longer works with using the Shemyaza master key as well. So, we just kind of felt like that symbol had become tarnished and doesn't represent our businesses, our ethics, our morals, and what we want to put out there in association with that. So how do you continue working with an entity that has that association? Now, I worked with Shemyaza extensively back in 2020, 2021, as evidenced by some of the videos I just mentioned that will be linked below. And I had some really amazing experiences and personal gnosis pertaining to my own magical workings, an unknown channeled language I had been working with since the 1990s. And I've got 30 years of evidence of that in a box down there. They started coming to me in 1994. So, and also with working with primordial energies and entities. And then I just kind of stopped working with Shemyaza by about late 2021 due to the associations of accessing Shemyaza using the master key sigil that, some of us on the left-hand path are familiar with. For me and others as well, not alone here, we feel that the energy has become tainted of the amulet specifically, and that particular sigil has become tainted by the person who originally channeled it. Personally speaking, I am a bit hesitant to work with people who try to bully me into their side, the only side, and then when I politely decline and wish everyone well and hope they find the healing they need, end up getting called a fat feminazi, which is a great way to treat a friend, colleague, and client. So, yeah, so F that noise. If you're going to disrespect me like that, I'm not going to want to have anything to do with you, period. And it was just rude. Like, I mean, for someone who you have a working relationship with and are friends with because they can't bully you into their side of the story, F that. And also since then, I quietly kind of severed ties with my association with Become a Living God. So I'm just trying to put as much distance there as I can. I still know a lot of people who are authors with them currently or in the past, whatnot. Like I said, I know who my ride or die people are. But, I'm a business owner and I try to keep things as professional as I can because reputation matters. And this is a case in point of how your reputation can tarnish the work you're doing really fast. And then it can tarnish it for other people as well. So there are other sigils out there for Shemyaza. I'm going to have to look into them, which other ones are out there, or maybe channel my own damn one. Not like I haven't been, have the channeled language that I've been working with for the past 30 some years. But recently, and this kind of came up outside of the conversation I was having with the client, is that I decided to revisit working with Shemyaza due to some recent developments with the secret channel language. And having gone back, I was working with someone who was like going through a series of them and coming up with interpretations and tying them into historical things, which was another abandoned project from that time as well. So I feel like it's time to revisit some of that. Things happen for a reason, right? So in the past videos, I didn't really go into too much about who is Shemyaza. So let's do that now a little bit, because Shemyaza is not one of the of the fallen angels, demonic, divine ilk that is really widely known, which is why outside of certain circles, which is why the association with this person kind of stuck. There are other people who've written about Shemyaza. I know that one of the, I forget which book, but it's one of the ones from the either Asenath Mason or Bill Duvendak or Temple of Ascending Flame that has some, I think it was maybe in one of the Lucifer books, either The Rites of Lucifer or Awakening Lucifer, maybe, that had like a chapter on Shemyaza in it. I think Michael W. Ford has also written a bit about Shemyaza. So there are other people that have written stuff about it, and anyone who is into the lore of the Enochian lore, the Book of Enoch, Enochian lore, the Watchers, etc., and the fallen angels and all that might know a little bit, but it's again not a widely known entity, like say working with Lucifer. So Shemyaza, and like there are variations of the spelling. Like the spelling I had been using was Shemyaza. There are the two I see that are most popular that are used are Samyaza, Samyaza, or Semyaza, Semyaza. There are a bunch of other ones as well. So Shemyaza or Samyaza, I'm trying to decide what I want to go with on that, is is the leader of the Watchers, very powerful fallen angel from the Christian or biblical apocryphal text, the Book of Enoch, and the other there's multiple books I think within that sort of apocryphal text area, and you'll see it used interchangeably, whether it's a fallen angel, whether it's a Grigori. The Grigori is the Greek word for it, or the Watchers. The Watchers I think is the most commonly used term for Shemyaza and Azazel as well. So this particular group, the Watchers, rebelled against God's will, and brought a lot of fancy, awesome stuff to humanity, and started intermingling with the human ladies, and made some monstrous offspring called the Nephilim. So it is said that Shemyaza knows God's true name. And in some of the mythology in contemporary occult circles, that Shemyaza can reveal your true God name as well. And he offered, and there is some ties with Shemyaza and other entities. So I will get a little bit into this later, but he also is associated with Ishtar. Ishtar is also associated with Astarte and Inanna, and it gets a lot of mess. Depends who you talk to back in the day. I have notes because I was not going to remember all this off the top of my head. Because also, a little pause and side note, I've been off my Adderall for almost a week now, because I find it helps me with the sensory processing issues I have of living in a very loud neighborhood during the summer. So I just get to be a flaky dipshit until I move. So apologies for that, or more of a flaky dipshit than I normally am. Anyways, So Shemyaza was one of the leaders of the Watchers alongside Azazel. Um, there's some interesting sort of. He was the one that was the first because I think this was in the Angelarium, and I'm escaping, even though it's sitting right here. Hold on, I can pull this out. I just want to get the author's name. Cause all my books to fall. But in the Angelarium books, there's also the this is the Angelarium Book of Watchers. The other one is the Book of Emanations, and that's the one that has the Oracle card deck. I don't know if they have an Oracle card deck for the Book of Watchers. I think I got this from their Kickstarter. I just want to know what the Peter Moorbacher. But in this, hold on, let me see if I can find it. There was a really cool story about Shamyaza's origins. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to include it or not, but guess what? I'm deciding to include it. And also plug, because this beautiful, beautiful artwork. And also the Oracle deck is pretty amazing as well, at least for the Oracle of Emanations. I don't know if there's one for this one. So he spells it Samyaza, Samyaza, Angel of Pride. And it says, when the Watchers were a chorus, they had no names. Each formless voice whispered its own meaningless song amid the stars, without ambition or ego. They sang of nothing and everything all day. Amid the dance of creation, a single speck of darkness passed through the light and cast a tiny shadow on earth. Beneath the stars, that shadow looked back at the heavens and saw himself for the first time. That shadow named himself Shemyaza and turned his back on existence he had been granted by the universe. Semyaza, the giver of names, called out for his brethren, and one by one they bowed to meet him. They called him Lord and King. There was to be none before him and none after him. So it was said that Semyaza, I found like a longer, goes into a little bit more here on page. Anyways, Semyaza detested the idea that he lacked control. He was king after 20 days. The Watchers, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Reach outside. Yes, it goes a little bit more into, I haven't read all this, of some background on Shemyaza. So I mean, the artwork in this is phenomenal. This is the Shemyaza. There we go. But yeah, this is the Angelarium Book of Watchers. I don't know. It might be available like on Amazon and stuff now. It's a gorgeous book. You know, pretty big, gorgeous. There we go. Well, I kind of got it back on the shelf. Anyways, so I'm interested in reading more about Shemyaza. Like I've read some of the Book of the Watchers or the Book of Enoch and some stuff about the Watchers as well and fallen angels. So there's just a little bit in there, but so Shemyaza was the one that named the rest of the fallen angels at that point in time because they just sort of were formless, nameless, masses. So I thought that was kind of an interesting story on that. Where did I leave off? So yeah, there's a whole bunch of different, like I talked about, there's Shemyaza, Semyaza, Shamyaza, Yazaz. So there's a whole bunch of different spellings for it. The most common, like I mentioned at the beginning, seem to be Semyaza or Samyaza. So the Watchers of Agori also sometimes referred to as the sons of God. And as we left off, they became enamored with mortal women and began to consummate the carnal desires, and led to the creation of the Nephilim. So the Nephilim were giants, and there's a lot of, I could do an entire video just on the lore of the Nephilim alone. But they were very violent, and I think they ate each other, ate everything, or ate everyone. So a lot of what we see in biblical lore surrounding the flood myth was like with Noah's flood and stuff like that. There's flood myths that come in a lot of different cultures as well. Was to eradicate the Nephilim from the planet. So, be that as it may, the Watchers shared a lot of different, what is considered sort of forbidden arts and scientists, and otherworldly secrets and mysteries with humanity. Of this is where we kind of get that otherworldly, whether you're talking about celestial or infernal, Gnosis from, especially with sorry, pardon the lack of Adderall. Like Azazel was the one who taught secrets of magic, of war, with going into armor and weaponry, and the use of jewelry and makeup, and the fine art of seduction. But I'd say, according to the lore, it makes me feel like Sam Winchester. According to the lore, unsurprisingly, heaven wasn't too happy about all this stuff. So the archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, decided they must act, and they, to avoid the total destruction of humanity, they waged a war, kind of the war with the fallen angels and the Nephilim. This is where the flood myth comes into. Apparently Uriel was the one to warn Noah of the oncoming flood, and that's how Noah was able to magically get 2 of every animal onto a giant boat. Or was it a spaceship? That would make more sense. That would actually make more sense if it was a spaceship. Anyways, Raphael was sent to punish Azazel by binding and casting him into Dudael, I think. I think it's in the desert. A lot of people get bound into deserts or deep sea caverns or the lake of fire or the abyss and stuff like that. Gabriel destroyed the Nephilim, and a lot of this comes in the flood myth. And Michael bound Shemyaza alongside all the other Watchers, damning them for the remainder of their lives. But it goes on to say that Shemyaza and the Watchers would be freed from Lucifer's bringing of the apocalypse. So, that's, I guess it's got an expiration date. Lucifer brings the apocalypse, the Watchers go free. Yay! Whee! Anyways, so there are Shamyaza or equivalent type spirits do show up in other traditions as well. And this is where it kind of starts to relate a little bit into Ishtar and Namah as well. In this sort of telling, Shemyaza, or its name was Azza, Azza, which is another one of the other names for it, was a seraphim. And in this case, he had tempted when she was human, Ishtar, and he revealed to her the true name of God. And some of this goes into some of the King Solomon, because apparently blah blah blah, Shemyaza was the angel who revealed to King Solomon the heavenly arcana. So that's where we get sort of the Solomonic magic from. I did not know that, or at least according to this particular type of lore. That's interesting. According to rabbinic tradition, Shemyaza or Azza is suspended between heaven and earth, along with Azazel, for having done the naughty with human women. He is said to be constantly falling with one eye shut and the other eye open. That's interesting, because I was just, before this, while I was preparing to do this video, I was watching the original videos I did, and like there was a lot in there that was around that, or talking about his eyes being rubies. that he needs to see. He needs the rubies to see, and those, I guess, are his eyes or something. There's a lot of like movement and falling and tumbling and things like that. So that's actually kind of interesting. Anyways, I just kind of pulled a couple things a little bit, just some factoids from a couple different places, Wikipedia, because who doesn't? Because I'm not great at remembering all of like. Sometimes I need prompts and to recall the all the little bits of information in my head that I already know, that just get kind of stuck in weird synapses and brainwaves. So now it's also said, and this is where Namah comes in, that Shamyaza's attraction and the Watcher's attraction to the human female was a result of a spell from Namah, and she was one of the first women who. And she's also associated with Lilith. I don't work with Namah that often, so I don't know a whole lot about her. I just know that she's one that people work with, probably in like the sex magic realm and things like that as well. So, how much am I going to that? So, where now the association of Shemyaza with Ishtar, Inanna, Astarte, that I think comes a little bit from the Epic of Gilgamesh. But so Ishtar, what you find with a lot of these entities is that same entity, just different name depending on, whether it's Sumeria or Mesopotamia or Canaanite or, Hittite or, anything like that. The same entity, just different name. So like Ishtar, Inanna, and Astarte are an archetype for the same goddess of fertility, love, and war. So you see that theme a lot in early mythologies. You always have a goddess of love and war, or of something in that rubric. So Ishtar was, or that Ishtar Inanna was worshipped, throughout the Middle East. She's also associated with the planetary Venus as well, which then kind of carries in the association with into the Greco-Roman pantheon of Venus and Aphrodite. So these things kind of travel about. Humankind is really interesting. So during this time, blah blah blah. So she was said to have lived around the time prior to the Great Flood. This is Ishtar, and Semyaza had fallen in love with her, and he promised to reveal to her the secrets of heaven and God's true name, in exchange for some stuff. But she was crafty, and she was like, "Hey, can I try your wings on?" So, yeah, she tried them on, and that's where, he removed his wings, he gives them to her, and that's how she ascends into heaven, escaping him. So, there's an alternate tale in which it's not the wings, but it's the secret name of God that's required for her transformation from Ishtar into Inanna, the goddess of heaven. And that also again kind of goes into the Epic of Gilgamesh. And yeah, so that's kind of where that association in the TLDR comes from with Shemyaza and Astarte, because I know at the time when I was working with Shemyaza originally, I was also working with Astarte as well, sometimes together, sometimes separately. So when I was working with Shemyaza and Astarte back then, they seemed to be, there was some interrelationship there, in my workings. I think I just had worked with Shemyaza more intently than I did with Astarte, or I just worked with them differently. Yeah, I haven't worked with Astarte as much as I used to either. I find I go in phases with working with things because it also depends on what I'm doing. Or what's coming to me, or like I probably wouldn't have gone down the rabbit hole with Shemyaza had I not stumbled onto some new information with the channeled symbols and sigils that I've been talking about, and I realize I haven't shown you any of them. I'm back. I'm grabbing one of my newer books that I've been working through. I know I have some in here. They're everywhere. This one's a little different because I kind of drew over it, but these are some recent ones I did. So these, when I'm talking about the sigils or the spirit signatures and all the stuff in the workings with Shemyaza, this is what I'm referring to, is that these symbols that I've drawn and the earliest ones I've found, this is going to be a topic for a different video, because I wanted to see how deep the rabbit hole went. And I have a big file box full of journals from the 1990s, which I'm almost done reading. I'm on the last one now. But the earliest recorded evidence I have of those date back to like 1994 and 95, which is a lot longer ago than I want to admit. So anyways, we won't do math on that because, yeah. So, yeah, stay tuned. I need to go back through the analysis that was written by a friend and compare some notes and stuff. But yeah, I just have I just always have these sigils like everywhere I'm looking back. This is earlier this year. Those are some other ones I did for specific things. But it seemed like those sigils really played in heavily with my work with Shemyaza, because I'm talking about the frequencies of the sigils, and talking about it being a secret telepathic language of higher beings, and things like that. So I think there's something that's important in that I need to rediscover. I just don't know what the timeline on that is going to be like, because I am, as of recording this in June of 2023, I am in the process of selling this house, and buying a new house and moving out of the city. And that is a whole ass thing. So anyways, love you all. And I will be back with some more content shortly. Bye. Don't forget to click like and subscribe and smash the notification bell.